This and every episode of REKT Podcast is brought to you by Beaksy Exchange, an upcoming cryptocurrency exchange built in collaboration with One Market Data. Beaksy is bringing legacy finance speed, power, and sophistication to crypto for the first time. With 225,000 transactions per second per pair, comparable to NASDAQ, 15 order types on day one, with 25 order types on full rollout, and a dedicated customer support team, Beaksy is setting itself apart from the competition. Check out Beaksy today at Beaksy.com and pre-register today at Beaksy.com/registration to get your free Beaksy Exchange tokens. That's Beaksy.com, BEAXY.com.
I'm Zack Voell. I work with Messari, and this is REKT.
Hello and welcome to REKT Podcast. I am Bunchu, alongside my esteemed colleague and co-host, Crypto Chamber. Chamber, how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing really well. I've been having a fun day. I am moving next week, as you know. So I went to a little going away party for myself, which is the most pretty much self-absorbent thing you can do. But I am here recording the podcast here with Zack Voell, and we are lucky to have him. I have been experiencing Messari, because that is what I've had to... It's the only way you can describe it. It's going to crush everything, and we are lucky to have him. Zack, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I appreciate that. Messari is a lot of fun to work for, and I enjoy the REKT podcast quite a bit. You guys are great, so thanks for having me on. I look forward to chatting with you guys.
First question, Zack. How was Blockchain Week?
It was a lot of fun and also a nightmare.
That's funny. So tell us both.
Okay. The fun was people, projects. Most of the fun usually happened like after the actual conference itself each day. So a lot of great meetups, more often than not at bars. So I definitely need a detox for about a month after that week. But it's great. Like, it's one of the best places all year long in the world to meet and network and have fun with people who are involved in and building and passionate about the same sorts of things you are, just in like the high level, huge crypto community, so to speak.
So second question. So I was hoping I was going to be able to be there Monday night for the Beaksy party, all of that with, you and the Crypto Street guys, everybody, yeah. And then looked like it was going to be an awesome time. And then the guy I was supposed to work with asked me to carpool, which meant I have to drive back with him. Oh, it was terrible. So I couldn't come. How was that?
The Beaksy party was a lot of fun. Block One and Beaksy hosted an incredibly fun night. I got to meet a lot of the Hero team. Yes. We're both a fan of. And just put faces to a lot of people from Twitter, a lot of anonymous people from Twitter that I've interacted with and enjoy interacting with quite a bit. So very fun all around.
So what is it like to meet anonymous people from Twitter?
So one funny experience was meeting Crypto Dale on Twitter.
Yes.
I was at the party and just getting drinks with a couple people I knew who are not anonymous on Twitter. And this guy came up to me and was like, "Hey, I'm Dale." I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Dale?" Like, no idea who he was at all. And
you didn't know it was Crypto Dale.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like just introducing yourself as Dale will not be enough. And he just sort of like walked away. And then I was getting drinks with Prince and Killer Whale, and they're like, "Oh, this is Dale." And I was like, "Yo, Dale." He's like, "I already introduced myself over there, asshole." Like, he didn't even recognize.
Which is pretty funny because I'm in the pod with you guys, which is, if you don't know what the pod is, it's a Telegram channel where, it's just kind of a Telegram frat house, essentially, is how you would describe it. And people talk about literally anything and everything plus crypto. And you two have a very interesting dynamic in there, I feel like, where Dale, you and Dale are kind of adversaries at some times. Is that true?
Yeah, we definitely enjoy sort of going at it a little bit on Twitter. In person, he's a blast. I love Dale.
Well, that's the best part. So I can't even imagine what the gap was between, oh, hey, I'm Dale.
Yeah, exactly. It's always an odd experience meeting someone like that in person. But Dale and I definitely So at first, I was never really sure if his like beef was just like full on aggro or if we were like pals and we are just having fun. But I eventually
that's so
amicable nemesis.
You're right. Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, it's great meeting people in person from Twitter, and I definitely have a lot of fun with Dale. The whole Crypto Street pod, like most of the anonymous crypto podcasts, like y'all and like Crypto Street, are a lot of fun online, and as I've been learning more so this week than previous blockchain weeks, in person too. So all around a great time.
All right, so let's ask a little more boring of a question. Where did your crypto journey start? So let's give an origin story. How did you get into Bitcoin? How did you find this whole space? Where did you come from?
Yeah. Origin stories are always interesting. I found out about Bitcoin, what I feel like luckily, in college, my sophomore year when I was rooming with my friend Dan, computer science major, started his own Bitcoin podcast, built a site, you, me, and BTC.com, which he still maintains now. And he studied computer science, I studied economics and political theory, and he told me one night, like, you'd really like this Bitcoin stuff. It's pretty interesting. Seems right up your alley. We're both sort of I don't know, libertarian comes with a lot of like negative connotations sometimes, but that's like our general like ethos. Just like let people do what they want to do, be what they want to be, that sort of thing. And the politics and everything around that comes with it. And he said, you'd probably like this Bitcoin thing. A lot of people in this space agree with that idea also. And he was right. It's super interesting. Started reading a little bit about it, bought some. Didn't take it super seriously. Also didn't have a lot of money to buy a lot of Bitcoin. But every year that passed, it just like didn't go away, and I kept becoming more and more interested in it. Wrote a couple papers in school on it. Then I graduated and becoming like fully absorbed in some Telegram groups, but also just like crypto, Bitcoin, Twitter in general. And then this past fall, decided to try and work in the crypto Bitcoin space full time. I was originally in DC after graduation, and then moved up here to New York to take a job with Messari, and that's sort of where I am today. So it's been a crazy I guess 4 or 5 years or something like that. It's also flown by at the same time. But yeah, I was just lucky enough to live with someone during school who knew about it and told me about it. And I've thought a couple times, like if I didn't room with that kid, like if I would have ever found out about Bitcoin, and if so, like how. And I don't really have a good answer to that. Like sometimes I feel like for most people in this space, sometimes you just like it's just like happenstance. You meet someone or you read something. Like very off the cuff or randomly, and you sort of find out about this, and then it sucks you in, and you can't escape, like us. So
I think what's so interesting about that is you said, "Hey, I'm not sure how I would have gotten into Bitcoin if it wasn't for that." Right?
Yeah.
And Chamber, think about that for yourself. Do you think you would have gotten into Bitcoin without that, a story that you would have had yourself?
No, I got suckered in to a Ponzi scheme, but at least I got introduced to Bitcoin.
It's interesting.
But no, I was always upset that I never got into the Silk Road, because I feel like that was right up my alley, and I missed my calling. That's the one I look back on. I'm like, man, I could have got into Bitcoin super early.
You should have created the Silk Road first.
Wow, I mean, if we're gonna think big picture, that'd be maybe not the best outcome.
Hold on. But we're not joking about the Silk Road. Calm down. But for me, it would have been, I probably would have found Bitcoin without that, because I found Bitcoin via gambling, like a lot of people did. And your only deposit and cash out method was Bitcoin. So I think it's interesting. But I got into I found Bitcoin that way, but I got into Bitcoin a different way, because Zach, like when you said, you had a buddy tell you about it, and I had a gambling account that just kept growing when I cashed out because it was sitting in Bitcoin. I was like, oh, what is this? Yeah, and that's how I found it. And then I found Coinbase, and then I found all of that, and it's really interesting. So, all right, since then, I do have to ask you another question.
Okay.
So, you would classify yourself, correct me if I'm wrong, a Bitcoin maximalist.
People have accused me of that before.
Hold on, don't say it's like accusatory. That shouldn't be a bad thing.
I'm just joking. That's definitely the Bitcoin maximalist crowd is sort of the first group of people that I started following and reading and interacting with on Twitter. And I generally agree with like 80-90% of the things that they like say and think and how they understand the crypto space.
So let's define that for you. What does that mean for you?
So I think Bitcoin is, well, a lot of things. I think Bitcoin is what you might call the king of this entire space, and will probably stay that way for a long time. Meaning that, like, if something devastating happens to the Bitcoin code base, or I don't know, something like drastic, some huge black swan event, then the rest of the ecosystem is going to suffer seriously, probably even worse than Bitcoin does. Everything's still dependent on Bitcoin. It trends up and down with Bitcoin, and everyone gets into everything else because they first find out about Bitcoin. Increasingly so, like Ethereum, but usually people just know Bitcoin and then discover everything else. I think fewer and fewer projects. So this is the part where Bitcoin maximalists might disagree with me. I think fewer and fewer projects compete with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's trying to be like a new money, like a new gold, where we can just store value, wealth we've accumulated, and know that it's going to be ours, and it's going to have some sort of value retention in the future. Everything else, everyone's trying to build cool contracts platforms or gaming applications or decentralized computing platforms, all of which use some sort of token or native asset that has value, but they're not trying to be, or at least in my opinion, shouldn't be trying to be a digital gold. So in that sense, and something I think a lot of maximalists might disagree with me on is Ethereum and Bitcoin don't compete really at all, in my opinion. There's a great talk that gave me this belief by Andreas Antonopoulos years ago, and he describes them as he analogizes them to a lion and a whale, or killer whale or something. I don't know. Two big animals that are relatively powerful, kings of their domains, but they never attack each other or compete with each other. They're just very separate in very distinct areas, and that's how I think of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So you'll have Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash maybe that try and dabble in the Bitcoin hemisphere. And then you have Waves and Qtum and Cosmos and everything else that has nothing to do with anything Bitcoin's trying to be, all in the Ethereum hemisphere. And I think both areas are interesting. Like I first found out about Bitcoin, and I'm most interested in Bitcoin. There's a ton of cool shit going on, in the
no. Like, fuck ass bitch, whatever you want.
There's a ton of cool stuff going on in like that space, and people who hate on it just because they like Bitcoin doesn't make much sense to me. And people who hate on Bitcoin just because they're like full on Ethereum don't make much sense to me either. That's my like worldview, I guess, on the crypto space. So, and that's probably where I deviate from some maximalists.
No, it's fantastic because it's actually kind of refreshing because you know, a Bitcoin maximalist, you have some people have a view of. I think I find myself right in the middle of yourself and Chamber. So Chamber is
what am I? Define me.
I'm going to ask you to define yourself.
Yeah,
you're not a maximalist. You have 30, 40 bags.
Yeah,
right.
But I think at the end of the day, though, the only one I really think that has any value is Bitcoin. Okay. The reason I have so many bags is I'm trying to get them to multiply so I can get more Bitcoin. At the end of the day, the game plan is get more Bitcoin.
Okay, so now what I loved about what Zack said and I loved about what you said is the reason you think you want to have more Bitcoin. And I think that now I'm going to Chamber, just yell at me if I'm stepping out of bounds, because here's just yell at me.
All right.
Here, because I agree with Zack in the sense that Bitcoin is the sound money option, and this is why I loved the JW Weatherman episode. I fucking loved doing that episode, and it was just me and him, and it was about sound money, right? And that's what that was about to me. And then you think about all these other cryptos and it's somewhere in the middle. And I feel like they have their places too, but it has to be somewhere in between. And I think that's what you're kind of saying, Zack. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I recorded a podcast back in the day with JW too, and I think I don't know, he has some. Everyone you find in the space, I don't want to say, I shouldn't have singled him out, but everyone in the space has like huge opinions.
Well, I did. No, it wasn't your
wrong
fault.
way. But that's why the space is fun, I guess. But there, like, I should also qualify my statement on like Ethereum and Bitcoin not competing with the idea that there are definitely some people who build on Ethereum that want it to compete with Bitcoin. Like Ethereum is going to be a good money, and there are people who build on Bitcoin who sort of want like all of these applications that people are building on Ethereum to be built on Bitcoin in the future. And personally, I think more and more things that we see being built on Ethereum and Tron and Waves and all these other like smart contract platforms will be in the future built on Bitcoin in some way, shape, or form. Like I feel like it's just inevitable as Bitcoin continues to develop and all these platforms develop. But I think the people who want Ethereum and Bitcoin to compete are like severely misguided. Like they both try and be, and to some extent successfully are, very, very different things, and you should not want them to compete. And I don't think they do, at least right now. So they may compete for like our money. Like, should we buy Bitcoin or should we buy Ethereum? But like that's not real competition. They're trying to be very different things.
The interesting thing that you say is compete as money. As money is the interesting thing. Chamber, do you ever think about that?
So, I mean, I think you just got to make a distinction between cryptocurrency and crypto assets. I think I think that's a great point. So talk about that.
Yeah, I agree.
Me or Zack?
You make the distinction.
So, I mean, obviously, what we mentioned before, Bitcoin just being a store of value has, like you said, as a distinction as a currency, where all these other platforms are more assets, utility tokens to work within a certain blockchain. But at the end of the day, there's very few digital currencies. I think you mentioned a couple like Litecoin, Bcash, Dash, maybe Monero, you throw that one in there. But after that, there's really very few I mean, even Ripple, not necessarily a cash, more of a XRP being more of a, I don't know, bridge between financial institutions. But that's basically it. You agree with that, Zach?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Am I off there?
A lot of everything else besides Bitcoin are sort of like stopgap financial tools. Like you need ethers to power the dApps because you can't build the dApps on Bitcoin right now, and people want to buy and sell ERC20s or whatever the non-fungible token Ethereum standards are.
720 or 721 or
721 or something. That's how little I know about Ethereum. But if those sorts of tools and so Ripple's also just like a financial tool that they want banks to transfer funds easier, that sort of thing. They're all sort of trying to be like, to some extent, it's like comparing Bitcoin and everything else is like comparing like bars of gold. And like people talk about Bitcoin as like digital gold. It's like comparing bars of gold to like any of a variety of like computational compute devices like laptops, iPhones, huge databases and whatnot. Like there is some value being circulated through those things, but it's very weird to think of a bar of gold competing with like a HP laptop or something. It just doesn't make much sense, and I think those are like
super.
You can, whoever your listeners can like destroy that analogy. That's just off the cuff, but it's like to some extent that's sort of the dichotomy in this ecosystem, and that's generally how I think about it.
That's interesting. All right, so I'm gonna stop that conversation there because we can go on forever. But let's talk about Messari. So, tell us what Messari is and how you started working with them.
Yeah. So Messari is a data company, essentially, that wants to bring better research, analytics tools, and better methodology in how we create and surface data to the crypto space. That's sort of the founding mission that Ryan Selkis and Dan McArdle built Messari with, and we're continuing to build new products to sort of actualize that vision. There are a lot of data providers in the space right now, but there are unfortunately very few like high quality, well maintained and curated data sources in the space. So I'm sure we can all think of like very popular data sources, especially over the past couple of years, the latest bull run that everyone uses. And there are a handful of other newer ones that try and iterate on sort of the curation and that sort of stuff. But some of the methodology behind how they choose which numbers to show and where they source that data from, like chains and exchanges and all of this stuff, could use some improvement. So that's what we try to improve.
So I think you were kind of getting at this, and I'm just going to call it out. So you guys versus something like CoinMarketCap. I think it's far and away different. There's so many more features. There's so much more data. Can you talk about, how that data enhances the space?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're always in the process of trying to manage exactly what you described, but also make it like usable for people, like having as much data on Messari as possible. But we get feedback somewhat regularly from maybe newer users in the crypto space that they're just overwhelmed by how much data we have, which is kind of a good problem to have, but a problem we want to fix also. So tons of metrics available on the OnChainFX dashboard on Messari to parse how you view different assets and which assets you view and that sort of thing. We just want to surface all sorts of these metrics so people have a better understanding of what they're looking at, what measures you can apply to certain assets, and also supply our exhaustive methodology for how we curate some of these data points that are surfaced on the OnChainFX dashboard. So it's for the dashboard itself, our mission is mostly just to ramp up as much data as possible, surface that, but also make it digestible, which we're succeeding on the first part very well and are going to continue letting that sort of run. But now we're focusing a little bit more on making it more digestible for people who don't want to be barraged with 100 different metrics as soon as they open the dashboard to try and find out like what's happening to Bitcoin or Dogecoin or something today, because it can be a little bit overwhelming. We're just trying to optimize for hitting a couple different markets, like power users who love that look, and people who just want to know the spot price right now who don't really want 50 different metrics. So that's one of the challenges we're looking into.
Sure, and I think you do both things very well. And what I love about Messari is that you can get deeper, right? So, when you go to something like CMC and, you're basically looking at a spot price and you're looking at up or down and you're looking at rank and all that. Then you go very much deeper into something like Hero, for example, which we are both a fan of.
Yeah.
Hero's got a page on Messari, and it tells you the category, it tells you the price, and it tells you so much about what the history of it is, supply, everything, historical, everything. And I think the coolest thing about this is, there's some metrics on here that don't exist without you guys. Like, for example, and I know this from chatting with you guys in, the Hero chat, like the year 2050 stuff. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, year 2050 supply is a metric that Messari pioneered. It basically just extends the issuance schedule for a given token or native blockchain asset out to the year 2050, so you can sort of measure what might be a better valuation for the asset today, given its future inflation and that sort of thing. And yeah, back to what you said about the profile completeness. That's probably one of the most fun parts of like building out. So we're building a couple different databases right now. One of them is like the project profile database. And there are like hundreds and hundreds of blockchains and thousands of different tokens built on all these blockchains out there. And curating all of that data and optimizing for accuracy and readability and all of that sort of thing, so that when people come to Messari and want to know about Hero or some other token, there is a profile there and they can learn about it easily. It's like broken down into plain English.
But
what's really fun is when, like, we worked on the Hero profile with the Hero team, and like dozens of other profiles in there, we work on with the teams that reach out and say, hey, we noticed we have a profile in Messari. We want to update or add this information that like we, the Messari team, don't have, just for an added level of completeness. It's a blast. And we have teams reaching out all the time to contribute information about their supply curves or their treasury addresses or the history of the project or their team information, that sort of thing. It's honestly pretty thrilling to have so many projects reach out and help us build this database. Huge community effort. We have a group of maybe 300-400 community analysts that contribute profiles on their own just to help build out Messari's database. And yeah, it's just a big effort to build all of this and curate all this information. So when people come to Messari, everything they could want to know about a project is there. And I think we're taking large strides toward that goal. So it's pretty exciting.
And that's awesome because you are working in collaboration with all these projects. So how would a project that maybe isn't on there now get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, for sure. So we're working on a public submission process right now, a little bit of back-end work to sort of optimize for streamlining that process and minimizing spam and that sort of thing. But 2 steps to take now if you're not on Messari or you are and there's some missing information or maybe information that needs to be updated. We have a pretty active public Telegram group. Just search Messari or Messari Crypto in Telegram and hop in. Or you can reach out to research@messari.io. And there's three of us at Messari who are on the research team, and one or more of us will see the email and be in touch with you. And we'd love to work with you to build out your profile. So yeah, Telegram or email until we get the public-facing submission process.
Are you working with the Beaksy team yet?
So we have a Beaksy profile. We haven't reached out to them yet, but I'm friends with a couple of them, Telegram and Twitter. So we'll. We'd love to fill out their profile too. They're awesome. They're a very exciting exchange. Like bootstrapping an exchange right now is not an easy task at all. So I'm pretty excited to see their platform succeed. It should be a lot of fun.
I think we're only days away.
Sounds like. Away. Yeah, dude, yeah.
They're gonna kill it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and they're doing the right things at the right time. It's going to be interesting. But what I was going to say is, I'm in your Messari Telegram group.
I was going to say, I thought you were, but I didn't want to assume you were. And then
I am. It's awesome. It's great. So anybody out there who's not, check it out. Seriously. Chamber, any other questions? I know I kind of dominated that question.
No, that's I think one of my favorite parts of the site, and what we're going to be utilizing going forward, is the news feed. I always search ccn.com, but now Messari is providing my news feed for me. So we'll be using, I think starting now, going forward, we'll be using the Messari website for all of our news.
Dude, it's so funny you said that, because when we were going to have Zack on, I thought the exact same thing. Because we use CCN for basically no other reason than...
Because it's the one that I know off the top of my head.
And when you go to Messari.io on your computer, you first of all, you also have an awesome mobile app. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, so the newsfeed is a super fun product to build. It's half algorithmic, half human curation. And Messari, so a lot of the whole platform in general, we want to provide as much original quality data and metrics as possible, and a layer on top of that is sort of information curation with new data and new metrics, and also a lot of the original research that we do and curating the news product. So everything you could want in like a front page for crypto would be on the Messari homepage. It's a little bit, so the human curation part plays into it, because everything an algorithm might pick up that's popular isn't necessarily high quality crypto news that you'd want to read.
Right.
So we filter for certain things like that. But there is a lot of high quality news content out there, some of which is published by established sites, like maybe Cointelegraph or the Next Web's Hard Fork or The Block or any of these. But also a lot of it happens on Medium and Twitter and Reddit that these sites don't always pick up. And the Messari news curation engine, algorithm and human, tries to aggregate all of that as much as possible and spit it out on our feed. So it's a very fun I manage sort of the human curation and the algorithm that tries to surface a lot of this content from news and social platforms, and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, if you guys want to use it, that means a lot to me, because it means people read it and find value in it, and it's. I
will make a pledge to you right now.
I was just going to say, Chamber, are we doing this? This is 100%. Messari is our news site.
Our only source for news, Messari.io.
That's awesome.
I think so, because it's fucking awesome. It really is. And now, having made that pledge, Chamber, I'm going to make a joke here. There's also a podcast tab that maybe we can be involved in.
Oh, is there a podcast tab on this Messari?
There is, right next to the news tab.
So
all right. Well, I'm gonna have to look at that and see who's made the cut.
Hey,
it's
well,
right
no.
It's
usually. I think it's all. I think
right
it's
now,
all Messari
right now it's
team.
only the Messari Unqualified Opinions podcast. But we are. I can't make any promises, but we're interested in.
Oh no,
you shouldn't.
Yeah, you definitely should not make any promises.
Well, I'm not making any promises, but there could be a scenario in which, in the future, and the newsletter tab is also exclusively Messari content, but there could be a scenario in the future where all free crypto newsletters and crypto podcasts are curated on Messari under those tabs. I don't know when or if that'll happen, but so there's a new page on Messari that curates all crypto podcasts, and there are like 100, almost 200 of them.
Wow.
There's an insane amount of audio crypto content out there, and if we find a way to sort of curate all of that so people can easily search and listen to the crypto podcasts that they follow and interact with the other content on our site via those podcasts, that would be fun, in my opinion. But
that's pretty
right
cool.
now the podcast newsletter
Chamber,
feeder.
can you believe we're one of only 200?
I only see us, so I feel like
if you search
I felt
REKT
like
podcast,
there was like 2,000.
If you search REKT podcast and Messari, you guys are in there. So
Ooh.
No, come on.
let us know.
I'm looking
if,
right now.
if
I'm
profile
excited
information
about
needs to be
this.
You doing it right now,
Oh,
Chamber?
look at that. Under organizations. Ooh.
Oh,
fancy.
yeah, look, people. Oh, my goodness, we're on
I'm
there.
excited. Making my weekend.
This is great
We got our
radio.
names in there and everything. Oh my goodness. This is nice, guys.
Zack,
Feel-
you flatter me.
I gotta.
So I won't flatter you too much. We have all 200 podcasts in there, but I figured
That's
I'd
okay.
tell you guys
I'm-
you were in there too.
That's not how I see it. I just saw mine and I didn't see anybody else's, so that's good.
Hey, if we're one of 200, you're saying there's a chance.
Tell me this. I got a chance.
Man, I got to tell you though, seriously, just Messari is comprehensive. It's very comprehensive. Chamber, I mean, like we were talking before, and all right, Zack, you sounded like you didn't want to name any names, but the one big one that everybody uses, all out there from the last bull market, I mean, there's a huge difference, correct, Chamber?
Yeah, I mean, we're almost talking apples and oranges at this point. It's something. It's like 2.0. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean.
It's next generation.
It's crazy.
No, it's very good.
And there's, in my opinion at least, there's no reason to like ignore that. Some sites in past bull markets have met like a huge need that people have for checking prices and exchange trading markets and that sort of thing. The sort of mission that Messari has is to sort of level it up a little bit
it's
and
next level. It's
try
next
and
level.
create a little bit of a better product, because we feel there is room to grow as the industry continues to mature, and if we want people to take us seriously as a space, we should build tools to let them take us seriously and be a little bit more careful with the data that we provide.
100%, and I think you guys do a fantastic job. As soon as I found out about this and I actually found out about it through Hero, and because you and I are in the Hero chat, and that's how I found out about you working for them and all of that, and it's unbelievable. It really is. So well done to yourself and everybody involved. I think it's I think it will be the next.
I appreciate it.
thing.
I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah.
We're barely a year old as a company. We have about 10 people on the team right now, and just, I mean, I feel like we're firing on all cylinders, but also working like 23 hours a day to get everything done. So there's no shortage of things to do, but it's a lot of fun. If you'll let me, I'll shill one of our newest products, very, very new, just a prototype now, but something I'm pretty excited to see it continue to develop. So if you go to the Messari homepage, you'll see a boards tab. And the boards tool is a product we're working on iterating to allow you to curate and eventually collaborate with other people on saving data and blog posts and podcasts and tweets and everything in sort of like a Pinterest for crypto type platform.
I was just going to say Pinterest.
With like a GitHub element maybe where you can edit and comment and contribute on like the crypto space. And we've had some people use this for like content curation that they do sort of professionally, and for presentations they give about crypto and just keeping track of news events like the Binance hack and that sort of thing. And they love it. It's still very new with very limited functionality right now, but we feel we've had enough like sort of proof of concept from some early users that we're going to keep iterating on it and keep building it out. But I love it, and it's super fun just as an idea because one of the biggest problems in crypto now is there is so much information out there. People new to the space are always asking me, and I'm sure you guys, like, what do I read? Like, how do I learn about crypto? And one of Messari's missions is to help build those curation tools on our site, or to build tools to help everyone else curate their own information, and that's sort of why we built this boards tool. So very new, but definitely worth a look if you want to see it in its early stages right now, and keep track of it as we continue to iterate on it.
So is the idea for the boards, I'm on it right now, is the idea for the boards to have like specific users be able to pin stuff, or how does that work?
So the idea for boards is it's sort of multifaceted. So we could have an influencer or something like Pomp maybe build a board for some of the companies that he's talking to or investing in, or maybe pin a list of all of his spreadsheets, all of his newsletters, or any number of things, and people can follow and to some limited extent contribute to that. Or a group of people like the Hero Chat maybe all have a community board where we save tweets and screenshots and posts about massive ratio games or trading strategies or something. There's a couple different levels to how it could look. Right now there's no collaboration feature on the boards, just sort of a single user. You pin things to a board and go from there. But as we keep building out the main Messari platform and iterate on the board's design, there's almost no limit to like the functionality that we could input on that. So pretty excited.
Yeah, this was something I didn't know about before we got on the chat here, and it's fantastic. It looks awesome. Chamber, you looking at this?
I am looking at this.
It looks awesome. I mean, look, hold on. I'm no Pomp, so I probably would not get a board. However, I would follow a Pomp or a Hero.
I'd follow your board bunch.
You would follow. Yeah.
Well, we can. I mean, so the limitation of the platform, the board's product right now is if you guys, for example, wanted to start a board for REKT commentary or podcast or that sort of thing, both of you could not maintain it right now just because it's so new. But like the collaborative feature is coming soon where like you two could maintain a board for all your listeners on upcoming guests or previous guests or episodes or social commentary around REKT, that sort of thing. Cool. And your listeners could participate in the board. That's one of the use cases for it.
Chamber thinks for all of us anyway. It's fine. he thinks for all of us. I just host his thoughts. That's basically what happens right now. But I do see, I want to, before we move on, the subscribe to our daily research brief. Can you talk about that so people can get at what is happening with Messari? Yeah,
so we... the daily research brief, you can subscribe for free and get a couple of newsletters. It's a weekly or a daily newsletter, Monday through Friday, and the Monday and Friday editions are free. Tuesday through Thursday are paid, and it's just part of it is curating things that the team is reading in the crypto space, thoughts on different assets and protocols and communities and conferences and regulatory developments, that sort of thing in the crypto space. From a high level, short and sweet for the free edition, and then we delve into like some original Ripple research or histories of Tether, details on like Binance chain development, that sort of thing in our paid product. But yeah, it's we have pretty large and growing subscriber base. It's not by any means one of our core products, but it's just a great opportunity for us to produce original thoughts on what the Messari team is seeing and thinking about while we're building all these tools. So yeah, check it out and hop in the Telegram chat. Tell us if you hate it or love it. If you're a reader, but yeah, it's a lot of fun to produce.
So before we get to the, the fun non-crypto shit, I just want to say, we did not this is not a paid advert for Messari. This is something that we thought was cool, and we wanted to have somebody on to talk about it. I think this is something that you guys should all check out. It's when Zack says it's next level, it's next level. It's where you can go to find, like, where you would normally go right now. Take it to the next level. Chamber, you didn't even know about it before.
I was going to say,
right?
You made it sound like it was both of our ideas. No, if it was my idea,
yeah.
People shouldn't listen to my ideas. This is Bunchu saying, you have to check this out. When Bunchu gets excited about something, I pay a little bit more attention to it. So, yes, he was the one that brought this to my attention, and I got very excited about it. So this is a Bunchu idea for a show.
Just check it out.
Which is a better idea.
It's just next level, and that's it. All right, so that's it. Let's go to the fun shit. Chamber, what do we got for the fun shit? I'll start.
You want to start?
Yeah, and this is where we're going to put Zack on the spot.
Okay.
All right. So Zack, actually, both of these we're going to put you on the spot. So here's what we're going to do. Zack, when we had our New Year's resolution show back in January, we all made predictions for where we thought the price of Bitcoin would be, the price of Ethereum, biggest losers, biggest winners, rookie of the year, and what the market cap would be by the end of the year. So we're going to go through these now, and we're going to talk about essentially what our predictions were and what you think they might be by the end of the year.
And for the record, these could happen at any point during the year, not necessarily. Did we say December 31st, 2019, or these were highs for the year?
No, they were technically supposed to be where
it was going to be.
Year would end.
Okay. Yeah. All right, perfect. I still stand by mine. I think mine are still.
Well, no, I think you're right on track. I think you're right on track. I'm a little concerned at this point. But, all right. So, here we go. Zack. Mm-hmm. So, first, 2019 end of year Bitcoin price prediction.
So, that's tough. Because, it's obviously tough. But a couple months ago, I was having the same conversation with two coworkers at Messari. And I honestly didn't think we were going to break above like 7,000 at least until Thanksgiving. Like I thought it was going to be very slow, gradual, exit from this bear market trend or whatever. And here we are. Like I haven't checked before we started recording, but I think we're over 8,000 again.
We're almost at 8,300. I just checked.
Wait, 83?
Almost. I think we're at 8,250. Yeah.
Wow. Well, see, there you go.
Shit.
So I think like we're either gonna. Okay, so one thing that just is hilarious to me is 3 months ago we were at 4,000. We've more than doubled that now. And if you talk to people about Bitcoin, like during consensus blockchain week or whatever, people knew about price that weren't in crypto, but no one cares about Bitcoin still. Like we're almost 50% back to our last all-time high, and no one cares. Like nobody cares. So I think
there's almost a slight flicker out there.
Wait, elaborate on that. What do you mean nobody cares? Because I find that fascinating. Are they all worried about their altcoins, or are they all worried about different projects? Like, what does that mean? Like, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, so people who have bags or whatever, in my opinion, or my experience, I should say, care. And maybe it's just my, social circles, but I don't. So at the peak, I had people texting me, where do I buy Ripple and how much should I buy? Like that sort of thing.
Yeah, same.
And we're talking normies, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like friends from school, like on the basketball team, or weird kids from high school that I haven't talked to in years. That hasn't happened to any degree to me yet. I think we could very easily break so this is my opinion. It has nothing to do with Messari, and it's not financial advice. But we could
of course. Hold on. Of course, we need to.
We could easily break 15K by Thanksgiving, and I think people would barely start paying attention to Bitcoin again. As in daily news coverage from ordinary news outlets on just the price. We still get
now I do have to ask
crime-related Bitcoin stories and all of this stuff every now and then. But pure mania, I think people are still disenfranchised or still sleeping on this space after the latest crash. But we're chugging along here towards new all-time highs, or at least recovering to the previous all-time high. So I'm not answering your question. I don't really know what the end of year price is, But
No,
I
that's
would not be
okay.
surprised
No,
if we are healthfully above 10K, like between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like no surprise at all.
All right.
So Chamber,
10K plus.
yeah,
for
so
Zack.
10K plus. So when we made this prediction on January 1st, what was yours?
What was mine? Mine was 13.5, which I thought was super bullish.
But here we are at like almost 8,500, and
No kidding.
Which
It has
is
to do-
interesting.
it has to do less
because-
than what it's already done to get there.
yeah,
Which is interesting because mine at the time, 8,500.
wow. Well,
That was my end of year Bitcoin prediction. And then Cynthia was 16.2, which ain't looking that bad at
Right.
this point. Yeah, not bad. All right, so Zach, this one's gonna hurt for you. What do you think Ethereum will do by the end of the year?
yeah, that's so. Do you all follow Eric Voorhees on Twitter?
Yep.
Shapeshift.
Yeah.
So he made a bet that Ethereum, I think he bet like $1,000 maybe, pocket change for him, but he bet that Ethereum would outperform Bitcoin on a percentage basis, I believe, throughout a year
that's
from like a
interesting.
couple weeks ago when he made the bet, or that it was either that or that it would pass its all-time high on the ETH BTC pair or something. I'm not sure exactly, but he's very bullish on Ethereum this cycle. I don't know. Like, I think I don't know, because there are so many chains right now competing with Ethereum, and there is so much internal like decision making going on in Ethereum on how to evolve the project. It'll be very interesting. Like, I have no doubt Ethereum like will be fine for several years in the future, trying to do what it should be trying to do. But
So what do you think about just like the whole ICO thing? Like, how is that going to affect Ethereum future price? Do you really think that that's why it was what it was? Like,
yeah, I think so. Ryan, our CEO, is fond of saying that like Ethereum will be the platform for DeFi, like this idea of decentralized finance, where all these apps
Sure.
that circulate crypto tokens and value and whatever are all sort of pinned to Ethereum. And then there's obviously a huge market for like Cosmos and these other interoperability chains that connect this mess of separate blockchains in the crypto space. But if you believe that like decentralized finance is something that can and should exist, like all these like dApps that people are building, then Ethereum can and is powering that better than almost anyone else, and that's probably good enough for Ethereum, like for a bull case for Ethereum to continue to grow and develop. Like, the ICO tokens were annoying and garbage, most of them, and like the whole craze was absurd. But I don't think it really hurt Ethereum's value prop at all, maybe long term. And Ethereum, once they transfer from like this Ethereum 1x to Ethereum 2.0 or whatever, and I don't know much of like the nitty gritty details of all the decisions being made to decide how that happens. But once that's executed, I think like it's very rational to have a very bullish opinion on Ethereum as a platform for developers to build all this stuff. Especially because, so maximalists listening to this are probably trying to assassinate me now, but
no,
you can't,
I don't
like
think
you
so.
can't build all of this stuff.
You've done yourself well, don't worry.
Yeah, but like you can't build all this stuff on Bitcoin yet. So if you want to build it, there's a good probability that you'll go to Ethereum, which expands like this dApp market and gives ethers a little bit more value because there's more opportunity to use them. Maybe at least that's the idea that these people have who are building this and valuing Ethereum. So end of year, all that to say, end of year price for Ethereum. I
was gonna say I wasn't gonna pin you to a price.
I was going to.
After that fantastic explanation, you're gonna make them say a price.
100%. Yeah. What's the price?
I would not be shocked. Okay, so end of year. True. I was thinking all-time high, but end of year, maybe like 2,500, 3K, something like that.
What? Oh my goodness! All right.
I'll tell you what, I'm pretty excited about that number.
Yeah, no shit. I need to market by Ethereum.
I've been stacking Ethereum lately.
All right, so Chamber, what was yours?
Mine was 625, which was uber bullish.
So remember, this is our January
Or it was
End of year
January
predictions.
1st, right? Yeah.
Wasn't it like $80 in January or something?
Mm-hmm. Sure
Yeah.
was.
Pretty close. So Chamber said 625.
Yeah, which was
Cynthia
very bullish.
said 350.
What'd you say?
So I'm right. I'm 6 months early, baby. I said 275. So that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
Man, so I hit essentially 8,500 in May and 275 in May.
That's good. That's bullish from me.
Yeah, well,
So I'll add.
it
I
means
don't
I'm
know
late.
that prediction for Ethereum price is based on like my rough guess of an all-time high for Ethereum this cycle. Like I don't know. I don't
so the
think
all-time high
Ethereum
at
will
this
flip
point
in
was
Bitcoin,
around
like, price-wise.
1,500.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
the
not-
all-time
you're-
high at this point was about 1,500.
Yeah. So I would not be shocked if we see a 10K Ethereum at the peak of this cycle. And maybe in future cycles we could see an Ethereum Bitcoin price flipping.
Wait.
And I've said that privately in a couple conversations with people, but I guess now officially it's on the record.
I'm sorry. So you're saying there is a possibility in your mind? There's a possibility of an Ethereum Bitcoin flipping
not this cycle, but yes, in a future cycle.
In a
yes.
future cycle. On the record.
Interesting. Wow.
on the record. And I think the reason I don't think
That's what
Bitcoin's
we do
prepared
here.
for that because people value the spot price of Bitcoin so heavily
Sure.
that if that happens, they're going to be like, "What the hell's going on?" But I hope it elevates the differences in the use cases for the two protocols and how they try and do different things, and the spot price doesn't really matter.
Well, I think that goes back to what I was saying before: is the difference between money and protocol,
yeah,
right? Is that what you're saying?
in a sense, yeah. How they do different things. They're trying to attract different developers and build for different use cases. And if Ethers trade at a higher spot price than Bitcoins do, it's not like Bitcoin has lost or Ethereum is like the king now or something. It's just people on average value or like at the specific nexus of supply and demand for Bitcoins and Ethers value Ethers more highly. It's not like the game's over or something. But I think people are so used to having Bitcoin so much more expensive than Ethers, they might not be ready for that. But yeah, I'd give it like a 20% chance it happens this cycle, but next cycle, like probably 50% chance.
Wow,
Interesting.
That's very interesting. All right, our next category here was biggest loser for the year, and I think Chamber and Cynthia have pretty much hit it right on. I missed on this one. So before the year, or on January 1st, Chamber says, what'd you say, Chamber?
I went with Bitcoin Cash is going to have the worst year for
Which I
2019.
feel like is happening. And Cynthia actually went even deeper, which I think she wins. Bitcoin Cash forks. So she saw the future.
She did see the future on that one.
Yeah, now Craig Wright is Satoshi. And I chose Litecoin because I thought Bitcoin was going to, really take off. Take off to the tune to 8,500. But actually, Litecoin, not doing great either. Back towards, where I got in 2017, I guess, at that, $40 range. Biggest winner. Chamber, you might be winning here. So hold on. We're going to make Zack predict a biggest loser for the rest of the year. What do you think, Zack?
That's tough.
It's basically a crapshoot. But
And we'll say total market
you have
cap
6
loss.
months. You have 6 months worth of losing to go off of.
So I'm gonna pick BitConnect as an easy biggest loser. I think it's still trading.
Hold
like
on, there's only 49 days till it comes back. Apparently, is what I've seen.
I
on
saw
Twitter.
that today. I'm shocked.
2.0.
I don't know. I think like everything. So Willy Woo does a lot of this data analysis. One of the sharpest data analysts in the crypto space, and he has some posts on how like all these altcoins, when Bitcoin is up, they always outperform Bitcoin. When Bitcoin crashes, they always crash harder than Bitcoin. Like we know this, like generally.
Mm-hmm.
So if like we're in a bull run now, the early stages of a bull run, and I think like pretty much everything is going to trend up. Like we'll see like which projects have died over the past bull run, as projects inevitably do. And I'm not totally comfortable working with Messari and picking biggest losers for the next year. But
you don't need to. The reason you would describe one is that. That's good.
No, it's totally fair, and I think everything that still has like a solid team behind it, plenty of runway, and people still like generally care about from a social aspect in the space, will probably be a little bit better off than it is now. I don't know.
All right, next category was biggest winner, which is interesting because I think Chamber is far and away the winner on this one.
Yeah, I went with Tezos as the biggest winner for the year. I feel pretty good about it still.
You're pretty much correct as to this point, right?
Yeah.
Cynthia chose Stellar and Polymath, and I chose Monero, which is not winning. So I think you're right there. We chose Rookie of the Year as Beaksy because we are all big believers in Beaksy as an exchange, and we all said it would be what?
Yeah, we said top 50. I think it's going to hit the ground running real fast once it's launched.
It's a lot of ground to make up. I think it's going to get there. It's a lot of ground to make up real soon, but it's still our Rookie of the Year bet. And then total market cap. So Zach, this is when you can participate. End of year market cap. Chamber, you said
500 billion.
Cynthia also said 500 billion. Man, I was just 6 months too early.
Yeah, you're just predicting May.
Yeah, I was just predicting May. I said 296 billion. So what that says to you is I'm fucking late. I am late. All right, Zach, what do you think the total market cap will be at the end of the year?
I'd probably pick somewhere between like the 500 and 750 billion mark. I'm not too sure we'll hit like the big 1 trillion yet, but maybe give it like 25-30% chance we do, but pretty comfortable with like the 500 to 750 range. But so I'm curious though on the Rookie of the Year question, if you guys are still confident. Obviously you couldn't have known about it when you made these predictions, but if you're still confident on the Beaksy token given Bitfinex's LEO token, because if I had to pick a Rookie of the Year just like purely on Cryptomania, that would definitely be on the top 10 list in my book.
That's a good pick.
I don't know.
It's interesting. Yeah, I'm still going to go with Beaksy, and man, I think they have a ton of momentum. They've done a ton of marketing. They're a fantastic team. And then you see what these exchange tokens do.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't be a surprise if they end up there. I mean, you talk about, like, I don't even know how to say it. Huobi? Huobi? I think so. Know. Like, it's like a top 25 token right now at 125 million. Like, that's crazy.
No, yeah, I agree. I shouldn't have singled out the Bittrex token, or Bitfinex token, but like Beaksy and Bitfinex and Binance, like exchange tokens, like all of those 3 exchanges and a couple other exchanges that have tokens are trying to do very different things, more or less. Some similar things, but very different. It's like I'm very excited to see like how these tokens perform, but also like what they're used for, how the platforms develop them, that sort of thing. I mean, like exchange tokens are definitely something to keep track of. Whether or not I'm not invested in any of those tokens, but I'm very excited to see how the platforms develop, partially because like these exchanges obviously have such a huge influence in the space, and now they're launching their own token and sometimes their own blockchains and whatnot. So yeah.
What I think is interesting about that and what you just said is when you look at like what the top 25 tokens are, and some of these are, you're just like, what? You know what I mean? And then things that bring value are, Binance, they do. It brings value and things like that. So like exchange tokens do bring value, which is kind of a weird thing to wrap your head around, in the sense that you are putting all this not your money, but like you're putting all these fundamentals into all these other projects. But the thing that is providing value right now is exchanges. And, even with the Binance hack and all that stuff, Binance is going off. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think like the classic Bitcoin maximalist response to all these tokens is like, why do you need a token? Like, presumably, like, you don't need a token. But more often than not, like, tokens are being used as sort of like rewards points, especially for these exchanges and customers who use them, like discounts on trading fees and discounts or exclusive access to certain events, or I don't know, any number of things. I think there's definitely a use case for them. We're probably not there in like ironing out exactly the best way to use them, but there are so many high-powered, exchanges, like highly financed, high-powered teams working on building these sort of like native tokens for businesses. And on like if we jump like to a little bit of a higher level, we see the same thing more or less being built with like Facebook Coin and all of these things that maybe were tried before with like Kick credits or Facebook credits and all this stuff. But now it's a little bit of a different iteration, just native tokens with some sort of presumed like financial monetary value being distributed and used on a platform within a closed economy. And the Bitcoin maximalist in me says in the future these will sort of connect to Bitcoin, which in my opinion is like a superior money in some way, like by being wrapped to Bitcoin or integrated on top of Bitcoin on some sort of like secondary or tertiary layer. But there's definitely a huge market that people are just starting to exploit for like native tokens being used for all these big platforms and customers as sort of like a rewards point basis that people can buy and sell and trade on secondary markets. And it's exciting to see how those develop. No real opinion on like the stages that they're at right now on development, but no matter what you believe about the space, it's definitely interesting and something you should follow.
Yeah. I feel like that is the perfect spot to wrap up. That was a good spot. So instead, we're going to put our last couple rapid fire questions out there. Chamber, you going to start these off?
Yeah, I'm going to start these off. I heard these the other day. I was driving in the car.
I have very strong fucking opinions on all of these.
All right. So, Zach, this is totally
We're going to let Zach go first on all of them.
All right. I got 3 questions for you. I heard these the other day, and I think they're pretty controversial, but they're designed to kind of shake your worldview. Okay, they're not crypto related, but just to really have a lot of introspective thought and reasoning to these questions. So the first question is a hot dog a sandwich?
That is a tough question. I won't lie. This is not the first time I've been given this question.
This is the easy one. This is the general one. I got some deep thoughts coming after this.
So,
one.
In my mind, it's incomprehensible how someone would think a hot dog is not a sandwich. All it takes is 2 pieces of bread and something else in the middle, and you have a sandwich. So
technically, a hot dog bun is just 1 piece of bread in bun form.
Okay.
So wait, hold on. So Chamber, you're saying a hot dog is not?
I don't disagree. I'm just saying it's only 1 piece of bread.
Do you disagree or not?
No, I'm in the camp of hot dog is a sandwich. Meat, bread, condiment.
But you have a sub sandwich that if you just go to a fast food sub restaurant, it's 1 piece of bread, and we still call it a sandwich. So hot dog is just a sub with a wiener in there.
Totally.
So now...
do you agree here, Bunch?
Yes, I agree.
All right.
And the funniest thing was we were just at the bar, I guess, or restaurant, whatever you would like to call it.
Depends which one you had more of, food or drink.
Definitely drink. But so the funny thing was, I had always asked my fiance this question, and she goes, "No, it's a sandwich. It's literally listed on her menu at the bar as a sandwich." It's under the sandwich menu. And I mean, how could you fuck with that? It is literally described under the sandwich section. That's all right.
All right, so we're all in agreement on that one. Okay.
Yes.
This one I think we might start.
But that one's going to get a lot of definitely nots.
I think this one is the one. I think this is the one. I think, all right, Zach, is a cinnamon bun a donut?
Ooh, that is tough. I'm going to say no. I feel like, well, that's tough.
Bunchy, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so
I know you're passionate about pastry and desserts.
I'm passionate about donuts, and here's the thing. So I compared a cinnamon bun to the type of dough, right?
Yeah.
Is similar to like a French cruller.
Mm-hmm.
Or a croissant-ish, if you will, right? And so, like a French cruller, you can order from Dunkin' Donuts or Tim Hortons or whatever. But you have to specify it's a French cruller. It's not a French cruller donut.
Right.
So my answer is no. It is more of a pastry, like a puff pastry. It is not a donut. My answer is no.
Zach, what do you think?
I'm going to have to go with no, but so I cheated and Googled what is a donut just to check. And so I think the reason why it's not is because donuts, the definition of donuts at least, is a fried piece of dough with confections and sugars and all sorts of stuff. And I've never had a fried Cinnabon before.
That is true.
If they start frying them, then there's a strong case for it being a donut. But
I think at the end of the day, you don't even have to look at the definition of donut. It's a cinnamon roll. Roll is bread. It's a bread.
Well,
it's a pastry bread. It's a sweet bread.
So, like, if you have to qualify it, that's kind of my point, right? French cruller, cinnamon roll.
Yeah,
like,
it's a roll.
Exactly.
It's a bread.
Right.
Like you don't get donuts with your
Boston cream is prefixed with a donut. Boston cream donut.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep. All maple dip donut.
Right. Give me your last one here, because this one. This one's the best one I had an argument with my fiance about.
All right, Zach.
Yeah.
But Zach has to answer first.
Yeah, Zach's answer first on this one. Is cereal soup?
That.
I told you.
Damn.
I was coming easy with the hot dog sandwich question. You didn't know what I had.
He just goes, damn.
This is I have to say yes, because I can't think of a reason why it's not.
Why it's not?
Soup.
I agree. It really changes your worldview.
Breakfast soup. I don't know.
Breakfast soup.
I can't say no. So yeah, it's soup.
So I went also yes, and gazpacho.
Right.
Right, cold soup.
100%.
Right? So that's a cold soup. And my fiance tried to tell me that every soup has a vegetable, and I said, "What about tomato soup?" And she goes, "Tomatoes."
Oh, tomatoes are fruit.
That's a fruit.
Touche.
That's a fruit, bitch.
No, but you could have. I mean, you get Lipton soup packets. There's no vegetable in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you like broke down,
maybe I guess there's some
because
sort
she
of
would say
onion.
there's probably because she tried to do this. She goes, "There's probably onion powder in there."
No, that makes sense. That's
yeah,
fair.
and so
you
this
can
was
have,
the thing.
It's
so
not
what
much of a
defines a soup is essentially Zach? What defines a soup?
Well, to the vegetable thing, I was going to say you can probably imagine some sort of like chicken noodle soup with just chicken broth and noodles and no vegetables. Maybe the broth
That's exactly
has
what I
something in
said.
it.
Yeah,
But
I think you can get.
I feel like a soup is just like some sort of liquid and
with
stuff
with
added
a solid.
To it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, because somebody said, there's milk in it. Well, there's heavy cream and clam chowder. Like, what's the difference there?
Same thing with like tomato soup. You can make a tomato bisque with cream.
Absolutely.
So, all right, there's one more that I'm going to throw the wild card at you. And because I've done many of these with my group of asshole friends in a text message, and so someone always challenges back with the hot dog sandwich one, and their question is a hot dog a taco?
See, I would argue that a hot dog would need to be in a corn or flour tortilla to be considered a taco. You could put a hot dog in a taco.
But bread is just a floured tortilla, essentially. Like, especially if you get a New England, like a Fenway Frank, it is just in basically a V-cut piece of Wonder Bread.
The question really should be, is a taco a sandwich? We've established that a hot dog is a sandwich. Is a taco also a sandwich?
Possibly, but that means, is a hot dog a taco?
I think you can decide if a hot dog is a taco, then Pop-Tarts are ravioli. So you can't have one.
Yes, that's another question.
That's a good one.
You can't have one and
all right,
not the other.
So are Pop-Tarts raviolis?
I don't think so, and I don't think hot dogs are tacos, but they're both. You have to have both. You can't have one or the other. So you decide.
Yes, you're correct. And here's why Pop-Tarts are not raviolis. Pop-Tart, I mean, it's very clearly it's got to be pasta, right? It's got to be pasta around whatever the fuck. Regardless, you could give me pasta-covered strawberry. It would be a ravioli, but not cheese.
That's true.
All right?
All right.
All right.
I like that one.
That's where we're gonna. I've also had this conversation, Zach. I love how we took it to the second and third level. All right, Chamber. Anything else you want to ask Zach here?
No, I'm very happy to finally chat with you. I've been on the peripherals with you, but I'm glad to finally sit down and chat.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I had a blast chatting with you guys about everything we talked about. So thanks for the invite. A lot of fun.
All right, Zach, one last shot. Your floor, plug Messari, plug anything. Where can we find you? Where can we find Messari? Anywhere.
Yeah, for sure. So just search Messari on Messari on Twitter or Telegram or Reddit or pretty much anywhere, and hop in and chat with us. I'm in there. You can find me on Twitter just by my name, Zack Voell. But yeah, if you want to chat with me and Messari about what we're building, feel free to hop on any social platform you probably use already, and we'd love to talk with you. So yeah, you'll find us pretty much anywhere.
Cool. Chamber, any parting words?
No. To my fellow Canadians, happy Victoria Day long weekend. You guys aren't off tomorrow, I'm assuming? You Americans?
No, it's next weekend, actually.
So I'm in the midst of my long weekend. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
It's next weekend for us.
We had a beautiful... It was a
Day.
summer day here in southern Ontario. It was...
Same here.
It was like
awesome.
28 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but...
28
Well,
degrees.
you know what's funny, Chamber? I just started wearing my Apple Watch again for the first time in probably a year, and mostly because I'm moving and I found it. Like it was just somewhere hidden in my house, and apparently it just tells it's 29 degrees Celsius here.
Yeah, that's a hot day.
My watch tells me degrees in Celsius, so I still am working that out.
Look at you.
But anyway,
You're almost Canadian.
Almost. Hey, someday.
One day. I'll vouch for it.
Anyway, for Zack Voell and Crypto Chamber, I am Bunchu. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, don't get wrecked, and that is financial advice.